What's good, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about how long does it take to build credit and why you should care about it. And basically, you could be in a situation where you're trying to get a house soon, you're trying to get a car soon, you're trying to do something with your business soon. So, you're just trying to get your credit score up as soon as you can. So to do this, it's going to be important to know, first off, what really is building credit? How long does it take to build credit? What accounts can you use to build credit? And also, what's the fastest ways you can try to build credit using those tools? So we're going to talk about all of that stuff in just a second. Now, if you don't know me, I'm Will Frazier, your credit and business expert. And if you like to learn about increasing your personal credit or accounts that you can use to build credit, as well as strategies for your business to grow it and getting funding for your business through grants, loans, and credit cards, then this is the channel for you. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified of any new videos I drop, just like this one. And now, let's go ahead and let's start talking about this building credit thing. So what is building credit? What does that really mean? So building credit is going to be just getting an account that they can use to start building up on-time payment history, because that's usually what everybody is going to be focused on, trying to build credit history through payments. Now, that is not the only thing that you should be focused on, and you're probably going to see a very delayed process in building credit if that is the only thing that you're actually focused on. Now, I'll say that because most people that are trying to build credit in this way, they usually have a lot of negative stuff on their credit report, be it collections, charge-offs, late payments, repos, stuff like that, reporting on their credit report, and they're just trying to ignore those and build up good credit history by making payments on time, thinking that that's going to override the negative stuff that is there and lead them to good credit. And I hate to tell you that that's actually not going to get you there, and it will take a very long time for you to get there in that way, because payment history is about 35% of your credit score. It is the largest portion, but there's still 65% of other things that you should be concerned about as well to try to improve your credit score. So what really is building credit? Really, I would say that it is trying to add positive information to your credit report in order to try to increase it, and the ultimate goal of that is to see large increases in your credit score over time. And if you are that person that's trying to ignore the negative stuff on your credit and merely focus on building credit through adding positive accounts, instead of you seeing a large number of points coming to yourself every month while doing this, you are actually going to see a very slow progress as far as how many points you're seeing to try to increase your score, because you're doing it the wrong way, basically. Now, it's always going to be important that you start working on those negative accounts, trying to deal with them, get them to be corrected, get them to be removed. That's the things that's going to help you to deal with those negative accounts so that you can properly be able to build credit. So it's important that you know that before you get started down this road. Now, with that being said, you need to know, especially if you're a person that doesn't have any credit score, and you are trying to build credit for the first time, you might be wondering, how long is it going to take before you're actually able to see a credit score? Or you might be falsely seeing a score that may not be accurate to what's going on with your credit. Now, basically, what I'm talking about is, if you're looking at credit scores, you might not know what kind of credit score you're looking at. And there are two different credit scores that calculate your score very differently, and that difference helps determine what you're gonna see and how accurate that may be to where you're accurately at. Now, the two different types of credit scores I'm talking about is a Vantage credit score, and then there's a FICO credit score. Now, they calculate your score differently. So when it comes to building credit, what you need to understand is, when it comes to a Vantage credit score, which is something that you're gonna see on Credit Karma and a lot of credit monitoring sites, you could have not had any account reporting on your credit report and still see a credit score. Now, the problem with that is it's not accurately reflecting where you should be, because you can have just negative accounts on your credit report and still see a credit score, even though you have not really built up credit history. So that can be a little bit deceptive. Now, when it comes to a FICO score, you will not see a FICO score show up for yourself unless you have had credit and been using credit, making payments on time for at least, or making payments in general for at least 6 months. So 6 months of payment history is what it takes to see a credit score within FICO. So if you've ever tried to check your credit report and you actually saw no score at all, more than likely they were trying to generate a FICO score for you, which is the credit score that most lenders are going to use. So it should be considered the most accurate of the credit scores out there, and it requires you to have at least that 6 months of payment history to make a score for you. And I would say, if you're building credit, give it 7 months if you haven't had any accounts before, because it may be 30 days behind as far as the reporting on your credit report. So with that being said, it takes about 6 to 7 months to actually build credit when you're starting from scratch and you don't have any credit, and you might falsely be seeing a score in a VantageScore situation because you haven't built up any real credit history if you don't have any accounts showing that you are able of paying things on time. Okay, so now that we know what building credit is, and we also know how long it takes to actually build credit up using a FICO score, the most accurate score that you can get, now it's kind of important that you know what you should be using to actually build credit. Now, you have two options here. You have loans and you have credit cards. Now, they both have their benefits and their downsides, but we're going to talk about a few of those and why one option might be better than the other. So when it comes to the loans and the credit cards, basically they both are going to add payment history to your credit report as you're using them. So they can both help you get to that 6 months worth of payment history to help generate a FICO score for you. Now, there's a different area of your credit that these two things can actually affect you. One is going to be the debt that shows up on your credit report, which accounts to 30% of your credit score. So when you get a loan, it shows up as debt owed to you. When you get a credit card, it shows up as money available to you. So because the credit card shows up with money available versus debt owed, when it hits your credit report, it actually helps you out tremendously. So building credit with a credit card is going to be the better option when you're trying to build credit, because it can usually add more points and it can add them quicker, because once it hits your credit report, it takes 30 days or sometimes 60 days for that to happen. Then you will immediately see that boost to your credit score, especially if you have not had any credit before. Now, one thing I will say when it comes to loans, they can also be very beneficial to helping you score, especially if you have never had a loan before and this is your first loan. It can actually do a great deal as far as helping you too, because there's another percentage of your credit score, which is credit mix, and having different types of credit reporting on your credit report actually helps your credit score. Now, one thing you do want to keep in mind though, you shouldn't be continuously going back and getting loans over and over again to try to build credit, because there's another factor in which they both affect you, the credit cards and the loans, and that is when they are closed. When either of these types of accounts is closed, it can damage your credit score. So if you pay off a loan, it can drop your credit score. If you close a credit card, it can drop your credit score. Why is the loan doing the same thing? Because when you pay off the loan, guess what happens? It closes. So because of that, you no longer get any benefit from the low debt that you may have had before you paid off the loan. And also, credit cards affect your score more dramatically as far as the balance goes that's owed. So credit cards have a more dramatic effect, so they can have a more positive effect because of that versus the loan. But also, if you max out the credit card, it can have a more negative effect versus the loan as well. So that's why you always want to keep your balances on your credit cards low while you're building credit, because that is a part of maintaining good credit, and you want to be doing everything that you can to do this with these credit cards that you're using to build credit. And with the credit cards, as long as you keep them active, you don't have to worry about them closing on you as soon as you're done paying them off. They'll always be there and be open because they're a revolving line, and you can use them again if you need to use them, pay them down. So you don't have to constantly go keep applying for something new like you do with a loan, which causes new inquiries on your credit. So another reason why the credit cards are going to be more beneficial long term versus the loan. So now, in summary, everything that I told you, when you're trying to build up your credit score, which is trying to increase your credit score in large increments monthly by building up good payment history, you want to make sure that you are using a credit card versus a loan. If you haven't had a loan, go ahead and get one loan. And of course, everybody's going to have a car loan at some point, but you don't need to get a whole bunch of loans to try to build credit. Try to build credit using credit cards, because the benefit is going to be way greater and longer lasting versus the loan. Also, make sure that you're looking at a FICO credit score while you're trying to figure out what your credit score is, and know that it's going to take about 6 to 7 months of building up payment history with the account that you use to build credit in order to actually see a FICO score. If you're looking at a VantageScore on Credit Karma, you might still see a score, but it may not be accurate to where you are because you haven't properly built up credit yet. Now, if you have a lot of questions in regards to building credit or working on your credit, or just different scenarios that might be going on with your credit or co-signing, stuff like that, then I suggest you download my free ebook, top credit questions is down below in the description. And it'll be a great way for you to get an idea of the answers to some questions that you may have been asking yourself or scratching your head about while you've been trying to deal with your credit. And hopefully that can get those questions answered for you and get you on the right track. And hopefully this video has gotten you on the right track in regards to understanding what it's gonna take to build credit and what steps you need to take. So if it has, make sure you leave a comment down below letting me know that. And make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video to like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified of any new videos I put out just like this. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the video, and I'll see you next time.